Let's quickly go through team roles and responsibilities so that you know what to expect once your project starts. There can be some ambiguity and misunderstanding over different types of people that may be involved in the project. So let's first start with the project manager. Depending on the size of your project, if you're going to start having multiple developers and other team members on there, it may make sense for you to ensure that a project manager is on the project. This person's responsibilities would be to gather the action items and responsibilities for each member of the team, whether it's on a daily or weekly basis, and report back to you your major challenges that we may have run into, or here's what the team's working on, and everything's going according to plan, etc. If you have just one developer, or maybe two developers, you may not need to have a project manager. If you're willing to self-manage the project, it's just a way of whether you want to save some budget on the project by having one less person on there. You may come across the term full stack developer as you go through. Essentially, that is a jack of all trades type of developer where they're going to code the user interface to your application. They're going to code the core application logic. They're going to do the database work. It's a way of saving money, of having one person that can do all the different pieces instead of doing each individual piece. But just keep in mind that someone that's a developer, it's very rare that somebody that's a developer is also a design guru and can create easy to use and design user interfaces. So it's helpful to just make sure that you have at least part-time somebody who specializes in user interface design. That's the UI designer line item on this slide. And that person is really just going to make sure that your user interface looks as nice as it possibly can, and that it has a good experience for the customer. The UI developer would be the person who would then take that design. So, a UI designer might create something in, Photoshop or a wireframing tool, which will outline here's what the user interface is going to look like. And then you would have a specialized developer that takes that design and goes and codes it so that it looks exactly like what was sketched out. The application developer will do all of the core logic for building the application. Sometimes, some teams, depending on who you work with, the application developer isn't a database developer and isn't, very knowledgeable about, what queries to run against databases and so forth. So it can sometimes be split out to a database developer and application developer, but oftentimes the application developer knows at least enough about database queries and development to be able to take on that part of the work. And then finally, and this part, often gets overlooked, is application testing. There are some teams that, you might hire where they have a dedicated resource that, only does application testing. And, just something to keep in mind is that sometimes they'll bring on like a test developer. And in that case, what happens is they'll build out automated test cases for your application. So that way, every single time a change is made to the application, a person doesn't have to go back and check to make sure all the functionality still exists. They can just, click a button, and all of these tests that they would normally run through by hand are all automated and run against the code. And, you can have the peace of mind that you have the full, what's considered regression testing, making sure that taking a change from today and, applying it against all the work that's been done so far gives you the peace of mind that you didn't break anything that was already developed.